The 11th game you beat was King of Fighters 14. What did you think of the story? Story mode.
Are we seriously going to talk about the story in King of Fighters 14? It sucked. Can we move past the story? Because
Yes.
that's how bad it sucked.
Okay. Do you like the graphics for King of Fighters 14?
No. They're not as bad as everyone says they are. King of Fighters, there's some clipping in it, but I think where people really have a problem with King of Fighters is when it comes to the really boring menus and then like the character shading. Like the shading, the high dynamic range, the bloom, all that stuff, the post-processing features. When you look at games like Killer Instinct, Tekken 7, and even Street Fighter 5, as much as I don't like that game, it's not on par with it. When they zoom in on the characters for like their super specials and stuff like that, there's like clipping in the hair, or where I noticed their faces look terrible is when you're playing arcade mode and they have their little conversations, you know, where it zooms in on their faces and Kyo's like, Yori, what are you doing here? And Yori's like, I'm going to kill you, you know, and it zooms in on their faces before they start combating. That's when I kind of winced, and I'm like, ooh, that's what they were talking about. You know, that's what people were complaining about. When I'm actually playing the game, I think the character models look fine. It's when you zoom in, it's when they zoom in those details, that's when I start to cringe a little bit and be like, ooh, that doesn't look too good. The amount of attention that King of Fighters 14 has got for having bad graphics is way overblown.
Did you like the music?
Some of it. Let's just put it this way. When I beat the game, and then they unlocked, and then the ending credits rolled, I had a hard time being satisfied that I beat arcade mode because the ending credits were so cheesy. On top of that, when you beat the game the first time in the arcade mode, you unlock the vocals for the main menu music. I turned it on, listened to it for about 5 to 10 seconds, and whoop, turned off the singing right after that because it was terrible. Like the guy's words and voice and everything was terrible. So the music itself isn't that bad, but when you go from like King of Fighters 13 music to King of Fighters 14 music, there's not that same nostalgia. Some of the character themes I think are really good, but the soundtrack as a whole is not as good as their other past King of Fighters stuff.
How about the sound effects?
Phenomenal. I didn't notice how good they were until I went back to play King of Fighters 13. The sound effects in King of Fighters 13 actually sound a bit puny.
Did King of Fighters 14 create anything unique?
Did they create anything unique? No. Did they do a lot of things right? Yes. It's unique that they didn't mess up the gameplay. Like they took everything great about past fighting games, King of Fighter games, and I think they did it all very well with this one. I am really surprised at how many new characters they brought to King of Fighters 14 and how many old characters they left out. I think it's super cool they brought back Vanessa, Rock Howard, Yamazaki, and brought in a guest, Tong Fu from Real Bout and Nakaruru from Samurai Showdown. I don't understand why they brought characters like Love. That one character, I can't remember his name, but he's got the stitches around his head with the big eyeballs and the blue pharaoh beard. The one who's like, I would have been much happier to see Shinwoo back, Ash Crimson. I know people are going to be like, but he died in 13. Well, so did Geese Howard, and that didn't stop them from SNK from bringing him back. You know, Geese died a long time ago. It was only out of fan outcry that he's ever been in any other King of Fighters games. But that doesn't mean that the roster's bad either. I mean, Rock Howard is one of my favorite characters that I'm not good at in Garou Mark of the Wolves. And with a little practice and a little help, he's one of my best characters in King of Fighters 14. And he's so much fun to play because his combos are relatively easy and they look cool.
What would be your overall rating for King of Fighters 14?
I'd give it a boring old 8.5. I love King of Fighters characters, and I think it's a fantastic fighting game, but it's missing so much.